Hi everybody, this is Andreas, business coach. Today I'm talking to Shirley Moreman, and she runs a company called Active Excel. And I just want to find out how she started the company, where she is going with it, and the challenges that she's overcome. So Shirley, thanks for seeing me. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
So where do you want to start?
Shall we start at the beginning?
Start at the beginning.
Okay, so how did I get into this in the first place? My background has been in IT for many years. So I was properly trained in programming, which has really stood me in good stead. I've got a very logical engineer's brain, so it really suited me. So from there I moved, as I say, back into a management position for a big multinational company.
So you're running a team of programmers?
Running a team of programmers, IT support people for the UK operation. Then moved on to another company, and there I was running all their management information, heading up some IT projects.
Right.
And I was there about 8 years. And then I decided one day I really would like to just go out on my own.
All right.
And
what, it just happened like that? Or?
I was a little bit, if I'm honest, I was a little bit bored of company politics.
Right.
So I just decided, actually, I'm just tired of the politics.
And when was that?
That was in 2014. There.
And did they hire you then as a consultant, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd started there as a consultant.
Okay.
Then I went on to full-time payroll.
Right.
Then I left and went back as a consultant, which was a bit bizarre, but was working for another big client of mine who was still a client of mine, my very first client to do it. So when I first started, I thought, well, this is easy.
Yeah, they just come along.
The clients just turn up. It was simple. So that was about the first probably 15 months of working for myself.
So you just worked with that one client for the first 15 months?
Yeah, my original employer that I went back to and did a few days a month, and that met that.
And the other employer, and that was enough to sustain you with a good income, yeah?
Yeah,
okay.
It gave me a really good start in things.
And then what happened then?
Then I finished. We completed the project.
The one with your former employer?
No, the other one.
The other one.
The other one, my second client. The project was completed. We'd done the software implementation. I was still going back on and off, just to help them out with a few things. But generally speaking, that was it. And it wasn't really what I wanted to do.
Okay.
It was.
And what is it that you wanted to do?
So what I really wanted to do was, I developed this real passion for developing things in Excel.
Right.
And I use my programming background because I'm trained as a programmer.
Yeah.
I use that background to actually develop all sorts of different solutions for people, and that was what I was really passionate about. That was what I really wanted to do.
So using the Excel as your platform,
yes,
and then develop solutions from Excel, yeah, and with Excel.
Absolutely.
Right. Interesting.
So that was that was what I really wanted to do, and I wanted to do that for lots of different clients rather than going on long-term contracts.
And how did you realize that?
I think it was probably because it was I'd done several projects for the last company I worked for. I'd done several projects where I developed all sorts of tools for them using Excel. And then I thought, well, this is so powerful. Yeah. It's the kind of thing that virtually everybody has it on their desktop. Most people use maybe this much of it.
What, like 3%?
Yeah, probably, if that. Most people.
And 97% is?
Yeah, it's not even used.
Wow.
So what I do is I get under the bonnet and I actually program it so that it actually does all sorts of amazing stuff.
All right, because it has so much, the capability is so immense?
Absolutely.
Right, okay.
One of the most common things that I hear from my clients is, oh my God, I didn't even know you could do that in Excel.
I think the average person in the office that has, Excel would never really use it to that extent that you're using it, and so that's a real niche you discovered there, haven't you?
Absolutely. It is very niche, which has its pros and cons though. Being very niche is that people don't always understand what it is I do, and that's been a tricky thing for me to get across to people. Is getting people to understand what it is I do, because lots of people just think, oh, you just type stuff into Excel. No, I don't.
Yeah, no.
I really don't want to do the data entry piece.
No.
What I want to do is create a tool for you so that it's easy for you to make those.
Yeah. So it uses
to do
data
that
from multiple platforms to feed it all into one spreadsheet. Right.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. And so the challenges was to actually explain that to people, yeah?
Yes. I think that's been one of the biggest challenges for me. Steepest learning curve for me is to understand the whole sales marketing process. I've actually realised there's quite a lot to it, and it's not easy.
No.
And it's way out of my comfort zone.
So
long way out of my comfort zone.
What do you find most difficult about it then?
I think it's really identifying who my ideal clients are. I think I started with the kind of scattergun approach of everyone will want my stuff, won't they? Well, no, not unless you explain to them why they would want your stuff. So I really, really struggled with the whole concept of targeting my clients. And when you work for yourself, you have to be able to do everything. The accounts piece, no problem for me. Bookkeeping, as you can imagine, it's numbers. Can do all that sort of thing.
But sales and marketing?
Sales and marketing has been the real struggle for me.
And how have you overcome that?
2 or 3 things, I think. One is to get lots of advice and support from people. I've built up some good relationships with people. Mostly through networking, people I've met through networking, as we've met through networking. Networking has been my big place for getting clients.
Is it your number one marketing strategy?
Definitely, has been. Whether that's networking face to face or I'm doing some more now with LinkedIn.
Yeah, you network a lot on LinkedIn, yeah. So how do you network on LinkedIn? What do you do?
I've done it before and I've just restarted it now, is making regular posts on LinkedIn talking about the kind of projects I'm working on, how I'm benefiting my clients, things that I'm doing. It's really commenting on other people's posts as well. It's just really engaging with people. It's just visibility, isn't it? Like networking is visibility. And I remember being told a year or so ago about make sure you shout about what you do, and I'm not very good at shouting about what I do. I'm learning to shout. It's been a strange process for me, and I think the word sell has very negative connotations to me.
Okay.
So I'm now thinking of it more about starting a conversation. What I've realised is people buy from people, particularly when you're a small business. I am my business. It's all about my personality, how I help people, my knowledge, my experience. And that's what I have to sell, is I'm selling me, really.
I wonder what would happen if you replace the word sell with the word help.
This is the thing, and this is what I've been doing, is like looking for words that don't involve the word sell, because it's like, to me it's sell. Whereas if I think of it as helping people, starting conversations, building relationships, it's one of those things that it just moves me away from the whole thing of selling, which just makes me feel very uncomfortable. So, and that's another issue, I think, when you're a single person business, that you have to try to do the marketing and the selling at the same time as doing the work.
Right.
And what happens is you get ups and downs in your business, because while you're very busy with projects, you don't have time to do the marketing, and then all of a sudden the projects have ended and you think, damn, I don't work now.
What happened now? I run out of this. So you realize you need a constant pipeline working in the background for you to make sure that one project finishes, another started, or perhaps overlapping. So and how do you do that now? After you realise that?
What I'm doing now is actually making sure that I set time aside to work on my business.
Right, not just in your business.
Not in my in my business. Sometimes it's quite hard to juggle things, but I've realised how important that is, to make sure that you're putting time aside to say, okay, even if it's only 10 or 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
There are optimum times to post on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to make sure that at those particular times of the day I'm actually posting on LinkedIn so that I get some traction. So I figure that most people are on LinkedIn probably first thing in the morning, just maybe the first thing they do before while they're commuting maybe, or when they first get to the office. Probably during the course of the day they're just busy doing their work. Maybe lunch times, and then again maybe in the
early evening, 5, 6 o'clock.
When they're maybe on their way home, they check their LinkedIn, see what how many notes they've had, or messages
requests
or anything.
Or whatever. That's cool. That's cool. So what would you say was one of the major highlights so far? Is there a moment you're really proud of?
I guess one of the ones, probably this one that I've done this year, is for my big client again. They needed a quote tool, which they needed to be able to send out. They're an insurance company, by the way. They needed to be able to send this out to the brokers, so it had to be secure in as much as the brokers couldn't see the underlying data, but it had to be a really, really simple to use tool, and it was very, very complicated. And one of the really lovely things was when I got the feedback from the company about it, was that they were really pleased that they just given me the project and I just ran with it.
You just did the whole project from start to finish.
And I just did the whole thing right from start to finish.
And did it turn out well, I take it?
It turned out very,
it's a great
very
tool,
well. Absolutely brilliant tool. They've had some fabulous feedback from the brokers.
So is there any advice that you could give to companies like in a similar position that you were in terms of do things differently than you did at the beginning to help them overcome that?
I think for anyone starting out is really, really concentrate on that whole sales and marketing thing. People won't just come and find you. You have to go out there and shout a bit. Tell them about yourself.
Shout about it.
Tell them. I think the other thing is that tell them how you can help them rather than telling them what you can do. I started off when I first started networking, talking a lot about what I do. And people actually aren't very interested in what you do. What they want to know is how can you help them. And it took me a while for that to kind of click in my brain, saying, actually I need to be talking to them about how what I do helps them, not talking about what I do.
That people buy benefits and not features and advantages.
Absolutely, The other thing I would say is that if anyone ever tells you that working for yourself will improve your work-life balance, it's a lie. I don't think I have ever worked so hard as I have in the last 4 years that I've been working for myself. But having said that, I've loved every minute of it. It's you're doing it for you, and it's very satisfying. And it doesn't, if you're doing something you love, it doesn't really feel like work.
So you're not really working, you're actually living the life you want to live.
Absolutely.
Which makes a big difference, doesn't it?
It does make a huge difference. And you don't have to deal with all the politics either.
No, because you're the only one. So is there any big event you want to share with anybody? Anything that's happening in your life that is worth noting and shouting about?
What I'm working on at the moment is some new products, which I'm quite excited about. We already have some great products. We've got a sales toolkit, which I'm working on developing that into something which you could use on a mobile device with an app. I've got some other new products in the pipeline as well. And the other thing I'm really focusing on now is the training. It's really developing the training. I'm putting some packages together, and I'm hoping to be able to do online training.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
And you, Andreas. Thank you.
Speaking with you. And for you out there, remember what Shirley said about marketing and sales. It is not something that can be abandoned. It's something that you actually need to focus on a lot. If you want to build a successful business, it won't happen without marketing and sales. So think about that one and actually take action. That's it for this week. Thank you very much. I speak to you again. Bye-bye.